Welcome to Business of Being Black with Tammi Mack. I am Tammi Mack on Fox Soul. Kanye West, whose legal name is Ye, has been saying controversial things for most of his music career, which spans all the way back to the late 1990s. Ooh, that sounds old, doesn't it, y'all? From saying George Bush doesn't care about black people on live television in the wake of Hurricane Katrina in 2005 to interrupting Taylor Swift at the MTV Video Music Awards in 2009, Ye has always said exactly what's on his mind. But for many, his recent comments have gone too far. And as many of his business partners are distancing themselves from Kanye, is it time for Black people to do the same? Let's get down to business. The business of being Black today is Ye West. Please welcome author and motivational speaker, Megan McGlover. Hi, Megan.
Hello.
The senior advisor for entertainment and media at Gage, April Rain. Hey, April.
Hello, Tammi Mack.
Public speaker and social media personality Terry Washington is with us. Hi, Terry.
Hello there.
And activist Jaguar Wright on deck. Hi, Jaguar.
Hello, how are you?
Fine. So we always start this show off with the business of being Black because it is the business of being Black. So the question is always, why should Black people care? Why should Black people care to distance themselves or not from Ye West? Terry, you want to kick things off?
Let's go ahead and do it. So he has a huge platform. He sold millions of albums, but his comments tend to be harmful towards minority groups, specifically Black people. And this dates back years to comments such as racism is outdated. If you look at the history where we've come from, where we are, racism is very present. People are being killed on film for being Black. Racism is very much alive, and his comments are careless and dangerous towards our community.
Jaguar, why should Black people care is the question.
That's a hard question to answer, honestly, for me. I think making it about Black, I think it's just too small considering his conversation. I don't think he's worried about operating as Black or white. I think he's just on his own individual path. And he does what works for him. He says something outrageous, he gets attention.
But why should we care?
I wouldn't say anybody should care.
Megan, why should Black people care to cancel Kanye or not?
Well, I think what Jaguar is alluding is actually quite correct. I think that if Black people want to care, you should have cared when he said something that actually hurt you, because what he has said recently is actually to help you. So now you want to jump on the bandwagon of canceling somebody or caring about what he says, but now you care at the wrong time. So, it's Black timing as usual.
Black timing, right? April Rain. I have to know why. I'm a Black woman. Why should I care to cancel Ye or not?
Well, I don't believe that cancel culture is a thing, first of all. But I think that Black people should care because Kanye is being anti-Black. And unfortunately, he is being held, not necessarily by us, but he is definitely being held by mainstream media as a leading voice in the Black community. Now, we can discuss whether that's actually true or not, but because he's out there with an incredibly large platform, as Terry mentioned, I think we do need to care because some of the things that he's saying are incredibly damaging to the community.
To the community and other communities as well. So let's get really down to business. Ye said he is about to go DEFCON 3 on Jewish people, and he blames Jews for problems in the Black community. What are your thoughts on this statement, and how do you define anti-Semitic? Let's stick with you, April.
Well, he's clearly been anti-Semitic, and that is why so many corporations have pulled their partnerships. We've seen most recently Adidas, Anna Wintour, and Condé Nast, which includes Vogue. The Donda Academy has been closed indefinitely, so parents woke up to an email saying that their kids didn't have a school to go to. But I think more importantly, the question is, why did so many of these companies and corporations and businesses and entities decide to part with Kanye once he became anti-Semitic? And yet it seems that him being anti-Black for years, in saying slavery was a choice, in selling Confederate merchandise at his concerts, and saying Harriet Tubman didn't free the slaves, and so on and so forth, his anti-Blackness apparently was part of their business model. But now that he has become anti-Semitic, and more vocally so, now we see that he's actually dropped off of the Forbes billionaires list, losing approximately 60% of his net worth based on his anti-Semitic statements.
Megan.
Well, I think that that's another great point that you're making. I think that it's quite interesting that according to what you're saying is that he's been anti-Black for all this time, but has never been canceled by those who are claiming he's anti-Black. So again, what is Black? And why is it that Black people always want to pull up the rear? The problem is that now, now everything that he said is actually coming into fruition. And so now it's like, oh, well, he said something about Harriet. Oh, well, he said something, he's selling Confederate flag. Oh, he's this and that and the third. But when you had a good point to make, when you had that point to make, you didn't make it. And so now you have yet another African-American man who is being completely slaughtered. And yet again, Black people are not supporting another Black person. So see, what happens is when your timing is messed up, now it looks like the community as a whole, we don't support our own. And that is a bigger problem than what some other society or some other culture has with one person.
Jaguar.
I just don't like the fact that they're picking on him for doing what other polarizing figures in America are doing. Now, are they Black? No. But Donald Trump, he has said so many divisive things. And guess what? All his people do is they just jump on board. They just jump on the bandwagon even tighter. And then we take someone like Kanye, who, in my opinion, I don't think it's a color issue. I don't see it as a color issue. I think he's operating on a whole nother wavelength. I don't think he's thinking about Black people. I don't think he's thinking about white people. I think he's thinking about the art of provocation. I think he's looking to be a disruptor. I think he's looking to make everyone angry and everyone talk about him, because that's all we're doing. He's supposed to be being canceled and he's being talked about more than ever. That's the point that I think people are kind of just missing. Yes, every time somebody says, we're not working with him, we're not doing with it, there's a million different platforms saying his name all the time. When Trump was running, he was the dark horse. Nobody wanted him. But the more his name was said, the more he was relevant. And as a writer and an artist, I know the power of the word. I know the power of the tongue. So are we cutting him off, or are we just giving him more credibility and more fuel for what he's actually aiming at? Because I don't think he's aiming at anything that people are looking at. He's aiming at something else. In my opinion, this is a Rorschach test. I'm gonna put an ink blot up. I'm gonna let all of you interpret it the way you want. And then I'm gonna find my core group and I'm gonna focus on them. So then you look at him talking about buying Parler. This is a right-wing, built-in, will do, whatever the status quo is here. He's getting it. It's a whole nother kind of audience. And it has nothing to do with color.
It's important to understand that Black people don't own these organizations that are cutting ties with Kanye West. So the theory that we all of a sudden became upset is false. We've been not approving of his behavior, but finally corporations took notice because things became on a larger spectrum. We've not for the longest approved of the behavior. And I don't think us trying to deviate from what Kanye is doing to make it seem like we don't care is a solution. What he is saying is problematic. This can go further and beyond what he said about Jewish people. His statement regarding Black Lives Matter being a scam. When it comes to social media, there's only a snapshot of what we see. He knew exactly what he was doing with that headline, that it was a scam, by making, and all people needed was that headline, was that it was a scam. Black Lives Matters is very important. It's not a scam. And so then there's a question of, well, how come all lives don't matter? Well, Black people are being murdered on film, in their sleep, in their neighborhoods, going to the store. That's why Black Lives Matter.
And they're being murdered by who? I mean, if we're going to go into that conversation, I don't know if we should go into that conversation. I think that we should go into, I think if we go with Tammi, this your show. You tell us where we should go.
No, go ahead, Megan.
Okay.
We should go to
Because see, here's the problem that I have when you start getting into Black Lives Matter. When you start getting into Black Lives Matter, then I'm going to have to ask you, where are any of the Black Lives Matter buildings inside of Chicago, Philly, Houston, Los Angeles that actually have systems set up to help young Black men stay off the street? And I don't think that you have an answer for that, except the building that they bought for $2 million in Canada. So we do not need to talk about Black Lives Matter, because Black lives do not matter to Black lives. Period. If you want to sit up here and talk about statistics,
when people are getting murdered in their sleep, they very much matter. When people are being murdered in their sleep, on film, on camera, they very much matter. Y'all didn't talk about All Lives Matter when kids were getting murdered in schools, concerts, barbershops. Then all of a sudden, Black lives began to matter.
So I'm not sure here if we are agreeing or disagreeing with Ye in terms of whether Black Lives Matter is a scam or not. But what are your thoughts on the mindset that Jewish people own a disproportionate number of media outlets? Out of the top 15 media CEOs with TV outlets, only one is Jewish. April?
Well, then, I mean, you have given us the facts, so that's clearly not true. But Kanye likes to provoke. He doesn't have anything to follow it up with, unfortunately. And we've seen that time and time again. I think Jaguar makes a great point that this is all a scam. You know, I think it's more important to talk about what Kanye's end game is, because it hasn't been clear for years. And yet Black people and now Jewish people are bearing the brunt of his ignorance. We've seen.
Well, my end game right here is a commercial break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Business of Being Black with Tammi Mack. I am Tammi Mack. And the business of being Black today is Kanye West, or legally he has changed his name to Ye. So Ye West. Jaguar, you were getting into some things. Come on, finish off.
Well, basically, like I was saying, this is a hot button conversation. So we're all trying to, not cut each other off at the pass. But I think we're all touching on a lot of different things that are cohesive. I think we all kind of feel and have agreement when it comes to certain things. But the truth is, Kanye West, we do not know his agenda. So everything that he's doing is going to be convoluted to us. He has an agenda, that's clear. What it is, we don't know. And he does misdirection. It's kind of like going into a movie theater and yelling fire. So you can get everybody to run out, but steal all the film out of the footage so you can sell the movie's black market. Like, that's the kind of vibe that I'm getting.
I've never heard that one before. Okay.
That's the kind of vibe that I'm getting off of what he's doing.
So let's see. So then let's ask this. Adidas has officially cut ties with Ye over his recent comments. Did Adidas do the right thing, April?
Adidas did the right thing. It just took them too long to do it. Again, one must ask why Adidas waited. If we go back to the history of Adidas, Adidas was founded by Nazis, literal German Nazis. Yeah. So here we are now that Kanye has made some anti-Semitic remarks and they've decided to cut their partnership. But when Kanye was being anti-Black for years, they were more than happy to collaborate with him on Yeezys. Same thing with the Gap, same thing with every other partnership that he's losing over the last week.
Megan, go ahead.
Thank you so much. I wanted to make a quick statement pertaining to what Terry had said earlier. Terry said that, Black people, we don't own the majority of media. We don't own the majority of these companies that have a collaboration with Ye West or with Ye. And April brought out a good point as well. Well, actually, you did, Tammy, about the statistics. The statistics are that, according to what you said, there's only one network basically that's owned by Jews. So my question then becomes, it really doesn't have anything to do with who owns what or how much influence Black people have over the quote unquote companies or the money. The truth of the matter is that collectively, Black people have not learned to come together to make a final decision on whether you're going to cancel somebody or not. If you're going to cancel somebody, then I don't want to see you 2,000-3,000 people standing in line at Foot Locker getting some tennis shoes. Don't let me see you there now. Do not let me see you wearing one of these trash bags as purses. The problem is that when Jewish people, that's what we're talking about right now, when they decide you're canceled, you are canceled with a C and with a K, and maybe a Q. You are not going to be able to infiltrate over here, over there, over here. So my problem is that on one hand, you say, well, we as Black people, we don't own the businesses, so we couldn't do anything. And then on the other hand, you say, well, the Jewish people didn't own a lot of the businesses either, but somehow they were able to do something. So in other words, what is it that Black people really find important? And what are we going to do about it? Because constantly talking about Kanye West or Ye West or whatever has done absolutely nothing for the murder rate in Chicago right now today. Absolutely nothing. So at some point, we as Black people have to get together and say, what is it exactly that will validate us canceling you? What makes you cancelable, whether we own the media or not?
So why,
Terry, jump in, Terry.
Why are we blaming Black people for his remarks is my question to you. We keep
I didn't blame no Black people. I didn't blame Black people for not canceling you when you were supposed to be canceling him before.
Why are we blaming Black people for his comments? We keep going away from the topic at hand. As I said before.
Who's blaming Black people for his comments?
I went away from the topic at hand.
He has a very large following. He has a very large following.
Huge.
He has children, innocent children in a cult school singing to his deceased mother. He has influence. That
so do
is
people
the problem.
In Nigeria. What's the point of this? I don't understand
the
this.
Point
so
is
do people in Europe.
And it's good that he's getting canceled. That's the point. It's good.
Is he getting canceled? Because we're sitting here talking about him right now.
Everything. As April pointed out, he's losing everything.
We're there. Yeah, he's losing everything. He's losing everything. Yes. And yet he still has enough liquid capital to be running his YouTube channel around the clock. There are people that are sitting there waiting, upset that they haven't been subscribers for 5 years because you can't make a comment on his page. He's running round the clock. If he actually is able to have enough money, liquid cash to buy Parler, he's going to have his own site. He's going to be the next little Trump. Trump got truth, he'll have Parler.
Well, we're not clear yet. We're not clear yet that Kanye is actually buying Parler. But we can talk about how that actually came to be, right? He was partnering with Candace Owens, who is a far-right Black woman.
Dangerous.
But married to the CEO of Parler. And then all of a sudden we see Kanye showing up at her so-called documentary, and they are all chummy like they're best of friends. And then, coincidentally, just a couple of days later, and so one can question whether Candace Owens was actually running the long con on Kanye West, right? Because they were having all these conversations. They're wearing the White Lives Matter shirts at the fashion show. And then we see what all of this has come from. Let me also say, though, that I don't believe, as I said before, that cancel culture is actually a thing. And part of the reason why is that Black people are not a monolith. So no, Megan, we're not all going to get together en masse and make a decision. The same way that convicted pedophile R. Kelly still streams on Spotify and Apple Music and so on, and Black people are buying those streams, there are still going to be people that are buying Yeezys on the Black market now that they're no longer available. They're going to be waiting for Kanye's next album if he ever decides to drop one. So I don't think all of this needs to be on Black people, right, to cancel somebody. But on the other hand, what we do need to do is hold Kanye accountable for what he's doing, especially because we've seen a rise in anti-Semitic violence against Jewish people since his most recent statements.
So April, what was the moment when Black people should have stopped supporting Mr. West?
Well, I can't make that decision on behalf of all Black people, right? Because Black people are not a monolith. However, what I will say is that when Kanye started selling Confederate merchandise at his concerts, could have been one example of when people could walk away. When Kanye started being anti-Black in his music, could have been another time when people walked away. Unfortunately, there are way too many examples, and instances when he has not been supportive. So why should Black people support Kanye when he is not supporting us?
Megan, jump in.
you're talking out of both sides. I don't understand. On one hand, you're saying that Black people collectively should either stop supporting him when he was selling merchandise or stop supporting him on one of these rants.
I didn't say that, Megan.
Whatever. Okay.
That's not what I said.
Okay.
Tammy asked a question and said, when should people? And I specifically said, I'm not saying that they should, but there are many instances that people can make decisions for themselves.
Yes, right? She was giving examples.
Because Kanye is all about free will, right? So we should be as well.
So if that's the case, and I mean that, and I think that that's great. You know, we should all have free will. God gave us all free will. That's perfect. So if that's the case, then why are we bringing it up at all? Then it's not anything
Boom.
that needs to be.
Because Tammy asked the question.
I'm talking about the show in general. I'm talking about every podcast. I'm talking about every IP address right now that's talking about Kanye. If you're going to, if the answer to no, but it can't be important.
It is important.
If we are not going to.
How is it important?
It is important. This man has followers. It's very important.
And meanwhile, just us sitting here talking about it is giving him credibility. It's giving him more fire. It's giving him more relevancy. And it's making the people that are rallying behind him want to rally even tighter. Like, once again, she just made an excellent statement. Ever since he made these comments, there's violence that's boom, 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 going up in the Jewish community. The same thing happened when Trump started running around talking about the China virus. And yet, nobody had anything to say about how people just came in tighter behind him. I do not think this is about Black. I think this is about provocation. If you look at what Kanye's doing, he's taking a page out of Trump's book. What happened? He got kicked off of all the social media behind everything he was saying about the election, everything he was saying about January the 6th. Next thing you know, they silence him, boom. He's got his own social media now.
Well, I cannot silence these commercials, so we're going to take a break. Boom. Welcome back to Business of Being Black with Tammi Mack. I am Tammi Mack, and the business of being Black today is Kanye West. Listen, Megan, honestly, when you say, why are we talking about it and we're giving him more ammunition and fueling the fire, I honestly believe that the reason why the business of Black is talking about it is to bring more information to people, because you have to be knowledgeable about decisions when you make them. So the question is, should people or Black people be supportive of Kanye West? And so the answer lies in you having the information you need to know to make that decision. And therefore, this show is highly applicable to that. It's an informative show so that people can understand that out of 15 media outlets, only one is owned by only one is Jewish ran. And I don't think most people had that information. The information that you all are giving us is helping us to shed light on why we should or why we shouldn't be supportive of the brother, right? And so that's why I think it's very necessary to have these conversations. Go ahead, Jaguar.
I just want to tap in on something. And I hear the stats about how much of the media is owned by Jewish corporations. I'm not sure that we're even clear on who he was talking about or what he was targeting.
Right.
When he
it sounded like he was targeting the music industry specifically. Yeah. Period.
And as an artist, I can tell you right now, unfortunately, most of our companies are not owned by us. Most of the companies that have been making money off of entertainers are not owned by us. You might have a few Black outlets in the sports arenas and stuff like that. But when it comes to music has predominantly been ran by coincidentally Jewish people. So I really don't think that we're looking at what he's saying. Like, even if we're going to talk about his anti-Semitic comments, did anybody talk about when he was talking about his jealousy over and for the Jewish community? Like, he was sitting there talking about, I'm jealous that they have this and my people don't have this. I'm jealous that they have that and my people don't have that. Right then and there, he's sitting there letting you know that he sees biases, things that he wishes his people possess. And I don't hear enough people talking about that. I just hear people talking about.
So why doesn't he make it? So then why doesn't he make it so? I mean, before last week, Kanye was a billionaire. So whatever it is that he feels that Jewish people had that Black people do not, Kanye could have done something about that, right? And so
to a certain extent.
I'm sorry?
I said to a certain extent.
With $1 billion, what can he do? He started his own school. Now we can talk about the fact that it was unaccredited and, that people were learning parkour, the kids in the middle of the day and having to wear all Black uniforms. So that's something different. What I'm saying is Kanye had the ability to make some of the changes that he was saying he wanted to see. And that's why I think, to your point, Jaguar, this is all about provocation. I disagree with you in the sense that I don't think that Kanye has an agenda. I think he wants to just make as much noise as possible and keep himself relevant. And so it does feel a little hypocritical to be adding more, smoke to this fire by continuing to have the conversation, as opposed to what if we all just for a week, just, an anti-Kanye.
I tried that, April. TV, I tried for a
nothing,
week.
Nothing on the blogs or what have you, and then see what actually happens.
But it won't happen.
To your point, though, April, with Jaguar, when you say to a certain extent he can make these changes or not, but certainly we can agree that his voice itself, minus his $1 billion, if he were the poorest man on the face of the earth today, his voice is still worth beyond billions of dollars. Don't we agree with that, Terry?
Right
Absolutely.
And how long are we going to call this man brilliant? How long are we going to call him a genius when he's simply doing things just to be heard and get attention? Again, he has children going to a school, learning God knows what, unaccredited. He has millions of followers, cult that run behind him. So it's important, like Tammi said, to use our Black voices to bring awareness to what he's doing, because what he is selling is not good for the community.
So Terry, I want to stay with you. He's also said many things. I want to stay with Terry for a minute here. He's also said many things that Black people have called anti-Black, including slavery was a choice. Does the current backlash over his anti-Semitic comments prove that society is more willing to accept anti-Blackness than anti-Semitism?
Yes, absolutely. Because to, I think, Megan's point earlier, it shouldn't have taken this to get him out of here. If we go back to 2015, when he said that racism was outdated, that racism was a silly notion, that's when he should have been gone a long time ago. So it's a bit of a slap in the face and an insult that just now we're saying, okay, he's canceled, to which proves April's point that how real is cancel culture if it should have been a long time ago?
How real is it, Megan?
Well, I just wanted to kind of circle back a little bit, because I actually wasn't the person that's saying us talking about it is giving him fuel. Jaguar Wright had said that. So I just wanted to clear that part up. But I think that we can't have it on both sides. If we say that we are not a monolith, which of course we all know that we're not, right? We're the main people telling white folk we don't all look alike, right? So we know that we're not a monolith. But that does not in any way is that the answer to us coming together or why we don't come together. You cannot say on one hand, well, he's making anti-monolithic Black comments, and then say we are separate people, so we should, some people can cancel him, some people cannot. Oh, well, he's teaching this at his school. Well, Nation of Islam teaches Scientology. I don't see you canceling them. Since you want to talk about information, there's a lot of information that you clearly don't have. So what is the criteria for canceling or moving to the side or ignoring or whatever word you want to use? What is the criteria as a monolithic Black community and culture? Because if you do not have any type of standards and morals that we can all somehow follow along with monolithically, then we will continue to have little holes here, little holes there, little holes there. We've got billions of people on this planet. Just because we decided we're going to quote unquote cancel Ye doesn't mean that the other billion of the 6 billion people won't be talking about him. We have to do just like the Asians, the Hispanics, the Jews, the whatever, and collectively as a monolith say, we're done with you. But what's the criteria for that? Because while Kanye is doing what he's doing that you don't like, Kodak Black just got through calling me a nappy-headed bitch. So what is the criteria?
Amen.
You got all kind of rappers saying all kind of crap, and then you want to sit up here and cry because somebody wears a White Lives Matter t-shirt? Who gives a damn? When are you going to wear a Black woman's Lives Matter t-shirt?
And that's your problem. Who gives a damn? We should give a damn. If you have a Black man wearing a White Lives Matter shirt, You mean
His
to tell me that
children are
you
white.
mean to tell me as a black man that I should not give a damn? When I see
His
people,
children are white.
when I see people like me getting murdered on camera, I shouldn't give a damn.
You gotta stop. You gotta come to some other kind of point, Terry.
No, you
because
do.
the truth of the
Because
matter.
you
Wait a
are
minute.
going in circles. You are going in the same circle about we are not going to come together. Like April said, Bill Cosby, R. Kelly, do we ever come together as black people? No, we don't. That does not stop the fact that what he is doing is wrong.
We're not, but we're
It
not.
doesn't.
Who said nobody's arguing that he's right?
But it's wrong is relative.
You are. You're taking the
right or
off of
wrong.
him.
No.
This topic is about Kanye West.
This isn't about right or wrong, though.
So let's talk about when Kanye decided to stop supporting Black people. Many say some of his early lyrics were very pro-Black. Has that changed? Has he stopped supporting Black people, April?
Absolutely. I've said that, and that's why we shouldn't care about Kanye. To Megan's question, I believe that when people begin to harm the community, that should be at its base the time that we walk away from them. But again, we can't control everybody. So yes, we can absolutely say, hey, here are all of the examples when Kanye has been harmful to us specifically, to Black women, to Black people in general. What are you going to do about it, right? But then I guess, Megan, my question to you is, how do you hold the Black community accountable when they don't walk away from Kanye? What is the point then?
That part.
For me, what he's doing, whether it's wrong or right, is relative. Because
hold that thought, because it's right for me to take a commercial break right now on the Business of Being Black with Tammi Mack. Welcome back to Business of Being Black with Tammi Mack. I am Tammi Mack, and the business of being Black today is Ye West. Megan, how is Kanye shining a spotlight on the demise of Black culture?
I just wanted to finish my last point. I don't know how.
Okay, go right ahead.
I just want to finish that last point.
Go right ahead.
It's just so funny to me that when it comes to the attention on Black people, then we want to ignore everybody else. I don't know why we want to ignore the fact that Kanye West, I don't care what he says, his children are half white. So even if he was just wearing the shirt, or he could have put half white lives matter if he wanted to. But the truth of the matter is that you cannot just always ignore every other person just because you want to start talking about Black people issues. Now, as it pertains to Kanye West bringing attention to Black people and what Black people need to do in their community, what I got from the 2 hours and 35 minutes, or 3 hours and 35 minutes, because I watched the whole thing, what I got was that when he was talking about his level of jealousy and so forth and so on, he was basically saying that we as a Black community, as a Black culture, we do not come together like other people do. We don't have ownership of a network. We don't have ownership of most of entertainment or whatever it was that he was saying. And so I agree with that point. We are, as April has said, I want to say as she said, because I'm going to say something else. We are too spread out. We're too spread out and don't have any common morals and standards. We used to, and that's when we were more successful. But we don't have a common ground. Right now, we only have a commonality when we want to get angry and we want to go outside and protest. That's the only time.
Are we an emotional people, Terry?
Yes. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Very much. When it comes to us, absolutely. But just to make sure, Tammy, today's topic is Kanye West. I'm wondering how long Megan's going to deviate from that. It's Kanye West, right?
It is.
I want to make sure. Okay. So yes, back on Kanye West and his harmful comments. They are very harmful.
But they're harmful. Wait a minute.
They are
harmful.
harmful.
Trying to figure out who they're harmful to.
Are they harmful to Black people?
No,
Are they harmful to Black people?
Black people.
Hold that thought, Megan. Let Terry get his point in.
Harmful, and he should be held accountable.
Okay, he's being held. Oh, sorry. Was he finished? He's being
not
held.
By you.
But you already told me I don't matter. Because I don't own the networks. I don't own this and the other. And some Black people will and some people won't. So it doesn't matter if I think he does something wrong or not, according to you, because Black people won't come together. So you can miss me with that. This, for me, whether he he's right or wrong is not relative as far as my point is concerned. There are so many, I have several psychology degrees. There are so many points that can be made when you're talking about Kanye West. It's not even freaking funny. So we don't have to get into all of that. But the point that I'm trying to make is that if, in fact, we are talking about his comments being hurtful to the Black community, my question is how? Now, I'm not saying his comments weren't hurtful.
Hold that thought. Jaguar, how?
I don't see it. I agree with her. I absolutely agree with her. Where is it harmful to us? I don't get it. I don't get how it's harmful, period. And maybe it's just because of the way I am. Listen to me. He says crazy things. If I see a person who I know says crazy things that have absolutely nothing to do with fact and are done for nothing more than just to provoke a reaction or to get people to talk about him, I ignore it. Like y'all are sitting here talking about this school. My question is, who sent their children to that school? Who bothered to send their child to that school if it's not accredited? Who did that?
Let's talk about the school. Should we give, speaking of accredited, should we give Mr. West credit for creating the Donda Academy, the Christian school he founded this year for children ages kindergarten through 12th grade? Should we give him any credit, April?
No, he's not saying
He doesn't.
Hold that thought,
Sorry, I
Megan.
thought you said April. He doesn't deserve credit. This is an unaccredited school. Kanye is very proud of the fact that he doesn't read. The principal has no academic background whatsoever. The children are in there singing to his dead mother, rest in peace to Donda West, and learning parkour. So what is he supposed to be getting credit for? And we see that, in part because of his anti-Semitic statements, some of the athletic leagues that were related to Donda sports are now, those kids aren't able to participate in basketball and other sports tournaments. That also means that those children are now losing some of their eligibility because they have been affiliated with Donda Academy. So no, to me, he gets no credit at all for an abject failure.
Okay.
And once again, who sent their child there?
People, I think the answer is people who wanted to have the cachet of saying that they sent their child to Donda Academy. And let's remember, Donda Academy was $15,000 a year and required the parents to sign non-disclosure agreements. And
so once again,
none of those parents are going to be getting any of that money back. And so that's part of the issue. And this is, I think that Kanye, in fact, is harming Black culture, because when he says slavery is a choice, right? That's harmful to Black people. We can't have a conversation about critical. We can't have a conversation about critical race theory and what the true history is in this country, and then have someone on the other side saying that slavery was a choice. Though that dichotomy is harmful to the Black community.
Jaguar, when you say people don't care, the group that hanged anti-Semitic signs on the 405 did that because of Kanye West's comments. He does have a true following, like you mentioned yourself, a Donald Trump following, where people will actually follow suit with his words. And you said you were a writer earlier. Words matter. And I know they do for you as a writer, as I am as well. Words mean a lot. And so I don't think that the don't care comment has any basis here.
Well, I mean, I think you're taking that out of context as far as I'm concerned. I'm not saying that I don't care. I'm not saying that I don't see the value in how harmful some of the things that he can say. But the thing is the more we give him validity, the stronger his words become. If we sat there and said, all of us said, he's a clown, we don't need to pay any attention to this, don't give it any light. People keep buying his sneakers. People keep buying his clothes. People keep buying his music. Matter of fact, anything that he puts out, people seem to want to buy. Apparently, he's so awesome that people are sending their children to this school where the curriculum hasn't been accredited. These are choices that people in our community are making.
So let me ask you this, Jaguar. In a recent interview with Piers Morgan, he said there's nobody that gets judged more than a straight white male. Let's take a look at the comment.
Oh, yeah.
There's nobody that gets judged more than a straight white male. The straight white male has the least amount of a platform to even speak. A straight white male can't say, my wife hurt me today, because people will say, well, you're hurting women.
All right, Jaguar.
He said that. He said that. And it's absolutely ridiculous. And I would pay it absolutely no attention. More importantly, people need to also realize in that interview, he was sitting there repeating things that Candace Owen has said verbatim herself before he said it. I am not a Candace Owen fan. I think she's one of the most divisive and dangerous Black women in the world. And yet I've sat there and I've listened to him repeat things that she said trying to promote this documentary verbatim. So why would I pay attention to it? If I don't pay any attention to her, why am I going to pay any attention to him when he's repeating what she's saying?
So
But once again,
as adults, we have to influence the youth. We cannot go around with the mindset of we don't care or it doesn't bother me because it's ignorant. What about the kids that do listen to it? To your points earlier, if people are consuming his music, what he's saying, as adults that have an ounce of sense, we owe it to the children to say, hey, FYI, this is what he's saying. This is not right. Rather than saying, hey, we don't care.
Got it. So then if we're going to do that, then we're going to go to all of the electronic stores and we're going to boycott Grand Theft Auto.
Oh,
We're going to do that too, right?
That's a good point.
Are we going to do that too?
That's a good point.
Are we going to do that too?
But to Megan's point.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Wait a minute. Wait a second. Are we also going to go and we're going to boycott Fortnite that Travis Scott had his skin in, that little kids who went down to Astro World and died?
Right.
Are we going to have something to say about that too?
We're going to go around the rainbow and excuse it again.
It's not a rainbow. I'm saying there are divisive characters and polarizing characters that are happening by the dozens in entertainment. It's not just him. If we're going to talk about, wait a minute.
Let's take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Why do we keep?
Welcome back to the Business of Being Black with Tammi Mack. I am Tammi Mack, and the business of being Black today is Kanye West. Listen, supporters often reference Ye's mental health challenges. Are those challenges an acceptable excuse for some of the inflammatory remarks that he's made, Terry?
No, they're absolutely not. While we can be sensitive to mental health because it's not spoken enough about the Black community, so we can be sensitive to that, but it's been a long history of comments, behavior, and actions that you can't simply excuse it as mental health. I know people that suffer from mental health, whether it be depression, bipolarism, all those different things. But what he is doing is for strictly attention. Everything he does, it's to get a spotlight on him. And I'm just tired of us coming together to make excuses for what he's doing in the name of, oh, well, he has some nice pairs of shoes, or he has this song was a hit for the summer.
Yeah, April, what are your thoughts on the mental health issues that people often reference?
Well, I think it's a red herring because Kanye has said that the internet is his therapist. He has the resources to get assistance, but he refuses to take medication for his bipolar disorder. He refuses to go to therapy. And so when he's having an episode, sometimes he acts out in various ways. But you know what? Having a mental health issue doesn't make you an anti-Semite. It doesn't make you anti-Black. So let's make sure that we are not blaming mental health challenges for what Kanye is actually doing. I also want to say that we shouldn't be blaming the death of Donda West. Kanye West is 45 years old. He is a grown-ass man. And so what we don't want to do is put the onus on Black women. I've seen so many times, oh, if Donda was still alive, Kanye wouldn't be doing this. Kanye would still be 45 years old, and he needs to take responsibility for his actions. We shouldn't be blaming or putting the burden or onus on a Black woman for what a Black man does.
Jaguar?
I think he's an individual. I think he's thinking individually for him and what he wants to do. I think he stopped identifying with the Black community a long time ago when he made his pursuits to become a billionaire so that he could operate outside of race, so that he could operate outside of judgment. This is a man who's worked very hard to create his own world, and he literally lives on his own moral compass. And if we choose to follow him, then we're the problem. He's not the problem. In my opinion,
he wants to create his own. He wants to create his own city, right?
It's just that he wants to create his own city. The man done got his own school. He has all of these things, but guess what? Without the consumer buying into it, he would not be able to do it. Now that people are cutting off ties with him and trying to find a way to squeeze up his money, that's fine. But the truth is, do we really know how much liquid cash he has? And can he really actually be stopped in what
Megan?
he's doing? We don't know.
Has he weaponized mental illness, Megan?
Well, I think that for me, I just did a video last week on my Instagram, hurt people, but that's not an excuse because you have to know that you're hurting. So you can't just go around hurting people and say, oh, well, I'm hurt, so that's why I'm hurting you. You have to, at some point, take responsibility for what you have going on in your life. Now, to say that he's not affected by some of these extremely catastrophic things that have happened. I lost my mother when I was at an older age, and it completely shattered me. But it was my responsibility, yes, to go and get help. But to say that, oh, well, he needs to just kind of like get himself together and this and that and the other, that's easier to say than actually is done. I am a therapist. And for people to just kind of throw therapy to the wall, it's really, really, it's heartbreaking because I know how good therapy is for you. However, that being said, in the Black community, we do not uphold therapy. We don't say, oh, well, you need to go talk about this. You need to do this. You need to do that. So I think that as it pertains to his health, there's a lot there. And it would take us a long time to kind of.
So let's talk about ending. Lots of people have ended their partnerships with him. Companies like Balenciaga, Vogue, Adidas, Gap. Is this an infringement on his freedom of speech?
Freedom of speech does not mean freedom without consequences. So clearly Kanye can say whatever he wants to say, and private corporations can act accordingly. So absolutely not. He can still do whatever he wants to do, but it means that there may be consequences for his actions.
Freedom of speech, Jaguar.
I don't know. I think Donald Trump's answer would be yes, this is an infringement on his freedom of speech. I think people that are like them, who are provocative and who are just disruptors, I think they're always going to say, oh, this is an infringement on my freedom of speech. I don't know. I don't know what freedom of speech means in the United States anymore. Honestly, personally, just for myself, I watch all kinds of things happen. I see people saying very divisive things and they go unscathed. And then I see people saying divisive things and then they're killed for it. I see people being defended that shouldn't be defended. And I see whole groups of people who are crying out and hurting, who need help, totally being ignored.
That's an exceptional point there. It's like freedom of speech has been very discriminatory lately, right? How can we keep up with you? New music?
Absolutely. For the first time in 3 years, I'm putting together a new band and I'm writing in a new project, and I'm creating a format that I can release my music without it being tainted by the evils of the entertainment industry that I've spoken up so freely about, which is why the Kanye West conversation is so interesting to me, because some of the issues that he has with the industry, I have as well, just from a slightly different perspective. So between that and writing my memoirs and getting all of that out of my system, that's what I'm doing right now. And just at Jaguar Wright for whatever. That's me.
I can't wait to hear more music from you, Jaguar.
Oh,
April,
God bless you.
How can we keep up with you?
Sure. On all social media channels, I am Reign of April, REIGNOFAPRIL. I am happy to be the senior advisor at Gauge, which is a rapid response insights research firm and part of Values Partnership, which is the largest Black-owned social impact agency in the country. I
love it. Terry, what you got going on?
Yes, I can keep up with it at There Go Terry on all social platforms. It's like saying There Go Terry. I'm currently on a high school tour in the city of Atlanta. And what we do is we go through all the high schools and we speak to hundreds of kids as far as like career development, young business minds, all those things. It's truly enlightening, and we're helping kids get ready for the future because they've lost a lot in social media. So it's about putting these adult figures back in their lives.
Thank you. Megan, stop lying.
Stop it right now.
Come on, books.
Love it. Love it.
Thank you so much. Yes, I am the author of Stop Lying Book, stoplyingthebook.com. You can find me at all social platforms, Megan McGlover, meganmcglover.com. I'm on YouTube at McGloverful, and I am also the president of Remedy for You Foundation. And what we do is putting together retreats for women, for families, and for couples to allow them a place to come and get therapy and to heal in a matter of 4 to 5 days, and to give people the tools that they need to go back home and live a life where they are not wishing for vacations, but actually living in their own retreat.
Thank you, Terry, Jaguar, Megan, and April. That is The Business of Being Black with Tammi Mack on Fox Soul. Until next time, everybody, it's a blessing to be in your box. Bye, y'all.